Good evening, everybody watching at home, and I apologize, I guess from my understanding from Jerry Noiser, Comcast is frozen, so you might see a blank screen right now. But welcome to the December 2021 version of the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors monthly meeting. First up will be a pledge of allegiance to the flag, followed by, first up will be invocation by Supervisor Hendrickson, followed by the pledge of allegiance to the flag. If everybody please rise.
Dear Heavenly Father, please guide our thoughts and prayers tonight to remember the greater good for the people we serve. Also, with this holiday season, remember your fellow neighbors who need help. Give them a good blessings. Also, remember our servicemen and the people that protect us, whether it be military, police, fire, EMS. Keep them in your prayers. And keep the holiday spirit going. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Hendrickson. Roll call is going around. We have 22 members present at this time. Supervisors Hagan and Ballman are excused, and Supervisor Mink informed me he will be a little bit late, so hopefully he'll be showing up shortly. Next up will be consideration and correction of our minutes from our November 2nd, 2021 County Board meeting. Motion by Supervisor Benke, seconded by Supervisor Aulick to approve those minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, motion carried, and the minutes are approved. There's no corrections or deletions to the agenda, correct? Or there is actually one. Okay, then I'll turn it over to County Clerk Jessica Backus.
So under number 12, committee reports, executive committee letter N, number 9, resolution 2021-2022-52. You'll see just the language of Ortho McMillan Janssen Pharmaceuticals Incorporated added within that resolution title.
Thank you very much, Jessica. So a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Motion by Supervisor Mars, seconded by Supervisor Sikowitz. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, motion carried, and the agenda is approved. Next up will be reports. We have a proclamation. If Becky could come up to the podium, and Bob, County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer, come up to the podium, that'd be great. We have a proclamation tonight for Mentoring Month for January 2022. Whereas everyone remembers someone special, a neighbor, teacher, relative, or a friend who broadened our horizons and brought a little magic into our lives. And whereas one way to return the favor is to mentor a child. And whereas every adult has something to offer, and 1 hour a week can make a big difference in a child's life. And the mentor does not have to change his or her lifestyle to change the child's. And whereas research has shown that children engaged in the one-to-one professionally supported mentoring programs of big brothers, big sisters are more likely to finish high school and less likely to begin using drugs and alcohol, skip school, or be involved in violence. And whereas in Manitowoc County, there are many young people who want and would benefit from having a mentor. Now, therefore, we, County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer and Manitowoc County Board Chair Jim Bry, along with the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim the month of January 2022 as Mentoring Month here in Manitowoc County, and encourage citizens, businesses, public and private agencies, religious and educational institutions to support mentoring and give young people in our community the gift of time and friendship through Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Wisconsin Shoreline. Thank you very much, Becky.
You basically said our whole deal right on this, so thank you very much. Thank you all for your support of mentoring. It truly does make a difference. We see it every day in our work, and we can't do it without the support of our community. So thank you very much. If you ever want to know more about how you can support us, how you can help spread the word, just give us a call or shoot us an email, and we'd love to chat with you more about that. But happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Becky, and all those involved. It definitely is a great program and so much involved. Thank you so much. All right, I'm sorry, we're jumping ahead too much here already. First up, next will be public comment. If there's anybody from the public wishing to speak to any matter germane to county government, please raise your hand. You can come up to the podium. You'll be allowed approximately 3 minutes to speak. Yes. Nope. Right up to the podium. Yes.
I'm Christine DeMai. I live on Johnston Drive, and I've been hearing a lot about EDI, DEI, CRT, all the above, whatever you want to call it. This is not good. It's something that, doing my research, which I do a lot of lately, it's a Marxist program, basically to bring hate and disorientation between children, and some teachers don't mind this. Now, if you have children in a class and you've got a white person here, white child here, black one here, this white child should not be considered a white supremacist because they're white. They are an American, just like the black child would be. And the black child is also not a victim. They are quite on the same level. The objective is to say, they say to keep it on an even playing level. That's not it. What it is making sure everybody's on the same plane, kind of like socialism, only they do it in a particular way where only certain ones make it. Now, in real life, we all know we're all sinners, right? We're never going to have a perfect life, so no matter what you do in a regular circumstance, children aren't always going to be successful. They aren't always going to win. You're going to have great ones up here, and you're going to have some that'll be really slow. I have disabilities. I have no problem with it because of the fact that you either accept me for who I am or you don't. I have no problem with it. I am who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I worked for over 30 years, and I ended up disabled because of it. Now, I look at it with me being disabled and still managing to make a decent life for myself. There's no reason why anybody should come in and say, I can be very honest and say, had anybody told me when I went to school that I was a white supremacist.
You have about 30 seconds.
Thank you. That they would have a fight on their hands. My main thing right here is, do people know the difference between equity and equality? And the other words are basically to divert it all into one situation. That's my main concern, is that Manitowoc considering accepting this. Seen the files already, it's been implemented in the school, and we need to do something to make sure it doesn't get pushed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. If there's anybody else wishing to speak this evening to the board? Yes, Maura.
Good evening, Chip Yost, Centerville. A half-cent on a dollar spent sales tax. Whoa, let's start at the top. Sorry about that. For years, I've been advocating for a half-cent on a dollar spent county-wide sales tax. A half-cent on a dollar spent sales tax will benefit property taxpayers by reducing their property taxes. In the 2022 adopted budget, 16% of property taxes paid will go to debt reduction by repaying bondholders their principal and interest. I oppose the continuous deficit financing of our county government year after year by borrowing millions of dollars. And then we are left repaying that debt, that principal and interest, with property taxpayers' dollars well into the next decade. Indeed, it had gotten so bad that the bond credit rating agency, Moody's, downgraded our county's credit rating numerous times over the years. It took a personal appeal by County Executive Ziegelbauer and the previous comptroller for Moody's to take the unusual step of upgrading the county's credit rating. By not having a half cent on a dollar spent sales tax, our county is forfeiting dollars spent by tourists, for example, from the visitors to the new marine sanctuary. There's a long list of exemptions to the half cent on a dollar spent sales tax, including manufacturing and agricultural materials, food and medicine, and more. So a disproportionate tax burden falls on our county property taxpayers.
Maura, you have about 30 seconds.
Thank you. Here's a final point. Our county's positivity rating for COVID has been climbing. As of today, it is more than 14%, and the goal is 5% or less. In this season of love and peace on earth, I encourage you to give yourself and your loved ones, friends, and our community the gift of wellness by getting vaccinated and boosted. Do that as a gift of thanks to our medical and essential worker communities. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else wishing to speak this evening to the board? Anyone else wishing to speak? And for a third and final time, anyone else wishing to speak? See none, I'll declare public comment closed at this time. Communications are shown on the agenda. There is no unfinished business from our last meeting, so we'll jump right into appointments by the county executive. First up is to the Expo Ice Center Board to appoint 3 members to fill 3 vacancies in 3-year terms expiring December 31st of 2024. And the recommendations are for PJ Albert, Stephanie Beneversi, and Chris Coleman. So motion by Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Sikowitz to approve those appointments. Any discussion? See none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Joint Dispatch Board to appoint 1 member to succeed Paul Granger for a 2-year term expiring of January 2024. And the recommendation is for Paul Granger. So motion by Supervisor Aulick, seconded by Supervisor Niles. Discussion on the motion. See none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Manitowoc Calumet Library System Board of Trustees to appoint 3 members to succeed Linda Hunter, Peggy Turnbull, and Ron Zakowski for 3-year terms expiring in January 2025. And recommendations are for Patrick Neufeld, Marcus Ladd, Megan Marchant. And there's also to appoint 1 member to fill a vacancy for the remainder of the term expiring in 2023, and the recommendation is for Deborah Brodke. So is there a motion to fill as appointed? Motion by Supervisor Metzger, seconded by Supervisor Martell. Discussion on the motion. Now you have a question. Supervisor Metzger.
Yes, I was just wondering, these are all 3 new people. Did the last 3 people did not want to take on the responsibility, or what happened?
Bob, you're welcome to come out and answer that, because I'll be honest, I don't know the answer, but.
The 4 people that were nominated were recommended by the library system administrator, and she indicated to me that one of the members was moving out of town, so that's why we replaced one of them. But it was all on their recommendation. Rebecca Peterson, I think, is her name, and she's the Manitowoc Calumet Library System Administrator. She recommended to me to appoint them.
Did the other ones say anything about that they didn't want to do it then anymore, or did they not care?
Right, they didn't want to serve anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Metzger, and thank you very much, Bob. We appreciate that. Any other discussion on the motion? Supervisor Zimmer?
Yes, I'm going to vote no on this simply because I object to Patrick Neuenfeld being on this Manitowoc Calumet Library System Board of Trustees. I think he would be a negative factor on that board. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Zimmer. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 21 to 1 with Supervisor Zimmer voting no. Thank you very much on the appointments. We'll jump into committee reports. First up, Aging and Disability, Disability Board, Supervisor Wagner is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bryan. We have a resolution amending the 2021 budget. Whereas the Greater Wisconsin Agency on Aging Resources Incorporated, the Department of Health Services, and the Wisconsin Institute for Healthy Aging has changed their formulas to allocate Older Americans Act grant funds, COVID vaccine outreach funding, and state funds to the Aging and Disability Resource Center. And whereas after careful consideration and review, the ADRC Board recommends that Manitowoc amend the 2021 budget to reflect the following changes in revenues and expenditures for the Title III programs, COVID vaccine outreach grants, the nutritional service incentive programs, the Alzheimer's Family Caregiver Support Program, and ADRC programs to reflect the following, and that's would be in the resolution, and also move.
So motion by Supervisor Wagner, second by Supervisor Engelbrecht to approve adopt the resolution. Any discussion on the motion? See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution amending the 2022 budget, or 21 budget, sorry.
Resolution passes 22 to 0.
The next meeting will be January 25th, 2022. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Wagner? All right, Board of Health, Supervisor Metzger is the chair.
I have no report tonight, and our next meeting is January 13th at 5 p.m. at the Health Department. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Metzger? Thank you very much. Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, Supervisor Falkowski is a representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. The meeting of the Manitowoc County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council was November 3rd. Under drug court reporting, Don Sweet, the treatment court and diversion coordinator, provided some background information to us. We viewed a PowerPoint about the 4-year statistics regarding the drug court's operation. That PowerPoint was distributed to your emails for your review on November 30th. If you require another copy, contact me after this board meeting. Their continued success with avoiding failure to appear and reoffending while participating with the drug court, and this despite some terminations. The court continues to operate within the recommendation of treatment court parameters. The participants are involved longer than minimum required periods. This models towards a better outcome and lasting results. At our next meeting, we'll have officer elections and some reappointments. The next council meeting date is January 5th, tentatively at the Common Tech Building. Thank you, and that is my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Falkowski? Thank you very much. Ex-Boys Center Board, Supervisor Kavanaugh is one of our representatives there.
I don't have any report, but we have a number of members that will be attending the state convention January 9th through the 12th down at Wisconsin Dells, and our next meeting will be Wednesday, January 5th.
Any questions for Supervisor Kavanaugh? Thank you very much. Finance Committee, Supervisor Hanson is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Finance Committee met on the 13th, and we sold 2 pieces of property that were at the, not sure of the correct words, but the second time that we tried to sell them. The first time we sell property, we set a price, and if people match that price, we sell the property. The second time the property comes back, if nobody meets that the first time through, we look for good bids, high bids, and if they're close, we will sell those properties that are the county owns through bankruptcy. So we sold 2 of those, and the good news is that many of these properties that we're selling are being redone, fixed up, and they're back on the tax rolls, and people are using these buildings rather than sitting vacant. So even though you might say, well, you're selling the building too cheap. No, people are buying them, and they get back on the tax rolls, and that's good for all of us. Sold 2 of those. JJ and Executive Ziegelbauer gave a report on the funds that we are getting from the federal government and the different projects that are going throughout Manitowoc County, at least being discussed at this time. And please remember that the dates to spend that money are down the road. So you all know about the lead laterals for Two Rivers and Kiel, and Manitowoc is talking about doing something. And some of the smaller communities are talking about radios for their different volunteer fire departments. Some are looking at a water tower. So there are projects out there for the small communities and villages, so everybody gets a piece of this money from the federal government. And again, it's good that the county is working with all these different villages, cities, municipalities, towns, and everybody else to use this funding for everybody in the county, and we appreciate that as a finance committee. I have 3 resolutions that were at that committee. First resolution is denying a claim to Nicholas Barletsky. These are the claims that come through, and our insurance company says no, deny the claim, and then when we deny it, it goes back to the insurance company, and they negotiate between the person who claims that they were hurt by something the county did and our insurance company, and they decide on what's fair. So our first one, resolution, I'll move that we deny the claim for Nicholas Barkowski. That was a stone chipped to a windshield from a truck.
So motion by Supervisor Hanson, seconded by Supervisor Aulick to adopt the resolution. Any discussion on the motion? See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution denying the claim for Nicholas Barlowski.
Resolution passes 22-0.
Second resolution is denying a claim to Susan Schlosser. This was a fall within the courthouse, and again, this goes, we deny it, it goes back to the insurance companies, and they settle this how they see fit. So I will move that we deny the claim number 47.
So motion by Supervisor Hanson, seconded by Supervisor Williams to adopt the resolution. Discussion on the motion. See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution denying the claim for Susan Schlosser.
Resolution passes 22-0.
And finally, we have a resolution adopting a procurement policy for expenditure of federal funds. Anytime the government gives you money, you've got to have a policy on how you're going to spend that. Have to be some rules and regulations. And so Peter put this policy together. As we talked to the Finance Committee, each unit of government that takes part in this process is going to have to do something like this. So Peter is gracious enough to have done this, and he will work with them if they need help also. So we are I will move to adopt our procurement policy for the expenditure of federal funds.
So motion by Supervisor Hanson, seconded by Supervisor Niles to adopt the resolution. Discussion on the motion. See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution adopting the procurement policy for expenditure of federal funds.
Here, I'm waiting for myself. There we go, now it works. Resolution passes 22-0.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. We meet the second Monday of the month, 4:30 at the county office building downtown, and all are welcome.
Any questions for Supervisor Hanson? Thank you very much. Highway Committee, Supervisor Benke is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met on December 14th, a number of items that we talked about, driveway access. We also talked about 2022 proposed shop updates, the Michigan. We have satellite shops, Reedsville, Michigan, St. Nazianz. So we talked a little bit about some of the work that's going to be done on the Michigan property, and there's a plan in place that we kind of keep ahead every year, spend some money in capital to improve those satellite shops throughout the county. And so Greg went through that. We went through the 2022 highway equipment that we are looking to procure, and just like everywhere else, we're looking to purchase those trucks well in advance in order to get those in a timely manner. So everyone, whether you're ordering, town of Newton, we ordered a fire truck the other day. We're way out to 2023 in order to get that build done on that fire truck, and it's no different than the plow trucks. We're having to purchase those chassis in the sheriff's department with their cars. Everybody is having to get way out in front in those purchases of capital. So we're not out of the norm. We talked about airport mechanic lease, which is now into place. We have a mechanic at the airports, and everybody is happy there. We also have a resolution, number 5, adopting a speed zone on County Trunk Highway Z in the village of Maribel. I so move, Mr. Chair.
So motion by Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Marge to adopt the resolution. Discussion on the motion. See none? The clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution adopting speed zone on County Trunk Highway Z in the village of Maribel.
Resolution passes 22-0.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
You're not going to read the bridge petitions?
No.
A little holiday humor.
I think light reading for at night.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Benke. Any questions for Supervisor Niles?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Supervisor Benke, I was just curious if we were any closer to acquiring the pre-treatment, the roadway pre-treatment equipment. We talked a little bit about it last year. Sheboygan County pre-treats their county roads. I don't know if there was a timeline. I'm just curious.
You're talking about the issue on brining?
Yes.
We haven't gone all in on brining. Most of our pre-treating that we're doing in that type of fashion is for bridge overlays and on-ramps and off-ramps. Yeah, we're not, there's a lot of real meticulous things that have to occur with brining. The DOT and there's a lot of counties throughout the state that are doing brining and going all in on brining, but we have not gone that direction based on the fact that we feel if we pre-treat the bridges and the off and on ramps, that's kind of the direction we're at. We're not really pushing for that major brining in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Niles. Any other questions for Supervisor Benke? Thank you very much. Human Services Board, Supervisor Hendrickson is the chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Human Services Board met on Thursday, December 9th. We had no public comment, but the Human Services Department Board, we've had an observer from the League of Women Voters, Nancy Slattery. And she wanted to thank the board. She said she's going to be replaced by Susan Zipperer. So just a quick note there. On the education topic, services provided by Lighthouse Recovery Community Center with Chrisma Roush as the director. Patricia introduced Christina Roush from Lighthouse Recovery Community Center. Human Services works with them on many different services. Chrisma said they're in recovery community organization, and they bridge the gap between professional treatment and develop a recovery support network. They're a nonprofit group that is led and run by members of the local community. They use peer-based and other recovery support services. They honor all pathways to recovery and try to educate the public about the reality of recovery. They offer recovery resources, a drop-in center, education, just hit my computer wrong. Yeah.
Did the MFA go into effect already?
Come on.
Well, Supervisor Bank, if you want to read those bridge petitions, it'd be a good opportunity right now. There you go. Cool. Is it timed out or something, or you lost connection, or
Yeah,
I guess you can ad lib if you'd like.
oh, got her back.
Right.
Sorry about that. When Marco Services closed, they gifted all 3 buildings to Lighthouse. They currently use Horizons, the Lofts, and Lotus, a separate agency operating a sober living facility. They all offer different levels of care. Horizons has the capacity of 12, and Lofts has the capacity of 10. They have received 117 applications for residency in year 1 and served 43 individuals. In 2021, they served 175 people. They have a clear process to follow, and they have a team approach to everything they do. In the financial reports, there has been a large increase in CPS cases in 2021. At the end of November, we were up 199 referrals from last year and had an additional 108 screening cases. There is also a 51% increase in kids in foster care. We are always looking for more foster care families. The financial projection for 2021 right now looks like we should have a surplus. This would be from a combination of things, including receiving more grant funding in some areas than was originally budgeted. On the director's report, we're starting to work on the purchase of service system contracts for 2022. The date of our next meeting will be January 27th, 2022 at 4:40 p.m. That concludes my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Hendrickson? Thank you very much. Land Conservation Committee, UW Extension Education and Agricultural Committee, Supervisor Wagner is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bryan. The Land Conservation Committee's next meeting will be January 20th, 2022 at the County Office Complex at 4:45 p.m. The UW Extension Education and Agriculture Committee's next meeting will be February 17th, 2022 at 4:45 at the County Office Complex. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Wagner? Thank you very much. Personnel Committee, Supervisor Marish is the chair.
Very much. We met on December 7th. We discussed and approved action regarding the request to offer starting rate above midpoint of pay range for a data information analyst. This is a new position authorized in the 2022 budget. We have successfully filled the systems analyst position, and that new person started on November 23rd. We discussed UW Extension positions, and we are welcoming our new agriculture educator, Angie Olness, and she started on December 15th. Also, discussion regarding establishing salaries for clerk of court, coroner, and the sheriff for the 2023-2026 term. We started discussing that. I invite fellow supervisors to come to our January meeting so that you get firsthand of how we actually calculate the salaries. The method we used is described in our section 5.02 of the county code. And we will be discussing that at our January 4th meeting. We meet at 4:15 at downtown in the county office building. And that ends my report. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Supervisor Marish? Thank you very much. Public Safety, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Planning and Park Commission. Supervisor Falkowski will be giving the report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Planning and Park Commission meeting met on Monday, December 6th. There were several variance requests on our docket. One was the Michael Corton Trust. The commission examined the survey documents along with the staff analysis conforming with county code and policy. We entered into discussion and then proceeded to vote. The request was approved. The next variance request was for Lowell and Yvonne Holdorf. Again, the examination of the survey documents and the staff analysis conforming with county code and policy followed with the discussion, and later the commission voted to pass the request for the variance. The remaining item to report on our docket was the public hearing for the rezone request of Robert and Joanna Steffens Living Trust. It was for a parcel change from exclusive ag to general ag. During the hearing, consideration criteria for the request were met and vetted by the planning staff. Testimony was provided from one of the principal parties at the hearing. All commissioners' questions were answered to their satisfaction. The official correspondence from the township affirming support for the request, along with a letter from another principal party supporting this request, was entered into the record. The commission voted to pass the rezone request on to the county board. Therefore, I move to submit the resolution number 2021-2022-50 for the rezone request for Robert and Joanna Steffens Living Trust.
So motion by Supervisor Falkowski, second by Supervisor Dizak to adopt the ordinance. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance amending zoning map for Robert and Joanna Steffens Living Trust.
The ordinance passes 22-0.
Our next meeting date tentatively is Monday, January 24th. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Falkowski? Thank you very much. Now we'll go to Public Safety Committee. Supervisor Nichols is the chair.
I have a resolution accepting a donation of a dive team trailer for our sheriff's department. This is donated through AH Stock Manufacturing Corporation of Newton. The value of the donation is $13,461.68, and I move to accept.
So motion by Supervisor Nichols, seconded by Supervisor Falkowski. Discussion on the motion. See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution accepting donation for the dive team trailer.
Resolution passes 22-0.
Our next meeting would be scheduled for Wednesday, January 12th, 2022, and that's all that I have.
Any questions for Supervisor Nichols? Thank you very much. Public Works Committee. Supervisor Giroux is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Public Works met Wednesday, December 8th. We reviewed and discussed the Solid Waste and Recycling Division. We approved the proposed volunteer program and passed that on to the Personnel Committee. We reviewed and discussed the Building and Grounds Division. We approved a pay request for the Manitowoc County Jail visitation area to Hammond Construction. We accepted the low bidder Schaus Mechanical on the Courthouse Chiller project. We discussed the Community Development Block grant-funded programs, which was the courthouse ADA restroom renovation and the building at Cato Falls. We reviewed and discussed the communications division and accepted the Frank's Radio low bid for public safety radio replacements. We reviewed and discussed the information systems and got a report from the Expo Air, Ice, and Center Division. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Supervisor Giroux? Thank you very much. There will be no Transportation Coordinating Committee report this evening. Supervisor Ballman is absent, is excused. So we'll jump right on to the Executive Committee. We have two things tonight. We have an ordinance to discuss, and also we'll be going into closed session. Since we haven't gone into closed session in a while, I guess I'll just give you a little background here. We'll do the ordinance first regarding the recording in county-owned facilities. Then I will read sorry, I shouldn't say disclaimer, but I guess, notice to go into closed session. Jessica, as county clerk, will do a roll call vote of each of us individually. After that vote is taken, and if it does pass on a majority vote, I will ask members of the public that are not to, I guess, in a sense, step out of the room for the time being. You will be allowed back in after the closed session is over. Does anybody have any questions on that procedure? All right. So first up, we'll take up the ordinance creating Manitowoc County Code 16.30, recording in county-owned facilities. Motion by Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Henriksen. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance creating Manitowoc County Code Section 6.30, recording in county-owned facilities.
Ordinance passes 22-0. Thank you very much on that. And with that, I will read the notice to go into, possibly going into closed session. The board may convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Parent 1, Parent G, for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the county who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Specifically, the board may convene in closed session to discuss the following matter: opioid litigation settlement. Is there a motion to go into closed session? Motion by Supervisor Benke, seconded by Supervisor Linsmeyer. As I mentioned, yes. Jerry, you're allowed to stay in here, and obviously the county executive can stay in here as well. So, and obviously, and the clerk staff as well. So, you sure you want to stay? Okay. All right. With that, I'll turn it over to County Clerk Jessica Backus to do the roll call vote.
Okay, so these are just going to be in alphabetical order. Jamie Olick. Absent. Kevin Benke. Jim Bry.
Aye.
Bob Kavanaugh. Dave Dizak. Lee Engelbrecht. Jim Falkowski. Rick Giroux. Charles Hagan. Absent. Paul Hansen.
Aye.
Rick Henriksen. Mark Linsmeyer. Susie Marsh. Tyler Martell. Rita Metzger. Nick Mink. Absent. John Niles. Dave Nichols. Bonnie Shimalonis. Ken Sikowitz. Norv Vogt. Catherine Wagner. Mike Williams. Don Zimmer.
22 votes in favor and nobody opposed. So we are in closed session. So